The airport was humming with its usual rhythm. Business travelers typed furiously on laptops. Families juggled strollers and carry-ons. Gate agents called boarding groups over crackling speakers. No one paid attention to the abandoned blue suitcase sitting quietly near Gate C14. Nothing seemed unusual until Rocky, a highly trained Belgian Malinois, suddenly locked into position. Rocky wasn't supposed to stop, not in the middle of a routine patrol. But the moment his nose caught the scent, the police canine went completely rigid, ears pinned forward, body trembling, eyes fixed on that innocent-looking piece of luggage as if he had detected a threat no human could sense. Then it happened. Rocky's bark shattered the terminal noise, not his usual controlled alert, but something desperate, primal, a sound Officer Lou Chen had never heard in 3 years of partnership. Chen's blood ran cold. She knew that bark. She followed Rocky's laser focus to the suitcase. No owner, no tags, just sitting there, forgotten and ordinary. Except Rocky knew better. Chen approached, her hand instinctively moving to her radio. Rocky's barking intensified, his entire body coiled like a spring. When she knelt down and unzipped that suitcase, what she saw made time stop. Blocks of C4 explosives, professional detonators, wires carefully arranged, and a digital timer glowing red in the dim interior. 25 minutes. That's all the time left before hundreds of people would die. What happened next became the most intense 25 minutes of her life. Stay with us because this story will shock you. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far these incredible stories travel. Officer Lou Chen adjusted the radio on her tactical vest as she guided Rocky through the main concourse for their second sweep of the day. 3 years. That's how long she'd been doing this dance with her four-legged partner, and before that, 5 years as military police at Kandahar Airfield. She'd learned to read danger in the smallest details, a bead of sweat on the wrong forehead, a gaze that lingered too long, a bag positioned just slightly out of place. But more than her own instincts, she'd learned to trust Rocky's. Rocky was a Belgian Malinois, 70 pounds of muscle, intelligence, and pure determination wrapped in a tan and black coat that gleamed under the terminal's fluorescent lights. He'd been trained at the same facility that supplied dogs to Secret Service and elite military units. Explosives detection wasn't just his job, it was encoded in every fiber of his being. Chen had seen him alert to trace amounts of gunpowder residue from 50 feet away, distinguish between 15 different explosive compounds, and maintain focus in chaos that would overwhelm most humans. Their partnership went beyond commands and hand signals. Rocky could read her heartbeat, sense her tension before she felt it herself. And she understood his body language like a language she'd been speaking her entire life. The angle of his ears, the tension in his shoulders, the rhythm of his breathing, every movement told her something. The terminal pulsed with its Tuesday afternoon energy. A mother wrestled with a toddler near the coffee kiosk, while her husband corralled 2 older children and a mountain of luggage. Business travelers formed irritated lines at charging stations, fingers flying across smartphone screens. A group of college students sprawled across a gate area, backpacks scattered like an obstacle course. Gate agents made boarding announcements in that practiced monotone that somehow cut through every other sound. Chen nodded to a TSA officer as they passed Security Checkpoint 3. Random bag inspections were up this week, something about increased chatter on extremist forums, though the briefing had been vague. Nationwide alert level hadn't changed, but there was an edge to everyone's movements lately. More vigilance, more awareness, the kind of tension that lived in the space between normal and not quite right. They moved through the crowds with practiced efficiency. Rocky's nose working constantly, processing thousands of scent particles every second. Perfume, fast food, cleaning chemicals, jet fuel. His brain filtered it all, searching for the one scent that didn't belong. Chen watched families embrace at arrival gates, watched businessmen sprint toward departing flights, watched the endless human river flow through this intersection of journeys. Everything was routine. Everything was normal. Until they reached Gate C14. Rocky's gait changed mid-step. His head snapped left, ears shooting forward like radar dishes locking onto a signal. His entire body went rigid, every muscle suddenly coiled. Chen felt the leash go taut in her hand. She'd seen him alert hundreds of times during training, dozens of times on real calls. But this was different. This was pure, undiluted alarm. Chen's breath caught in her throat. Rocky's transformation was instantaneous and absolute. His hackles rose along his spine, creating a ridge of raised fur from shoulders to tail. His front legs planted wide, body lowered slightly into a stance she'd only seen twice before, once during advanced threat training, once when they discovered a pipe bomb in a subway station 18 months ago. His focus was laser precise, unbreakable, locked onto something near the charging station 20 feet ahead. She followed his line of sight and saw it immediately. A blue, hard-shell suitcase, medium-sized, sitting upright beside an empty chair. No owner hovering nearby checking their phone, no passenger returning from the restroom, no anxious traveler frantically searching for their misplaced bag. Just the suitcase, alone and still, like it had been carefully positioned and abandoned. Chen's military training kicked in before her conscious mind could catch up. She scanned the immediate area, approximately 30 civilians within the potential blast radius if this was what Rocky's body language suggested. Her hand moved to her radio, but protocol demanded she attempt to locate the owner first. False alarms happened, people forgot bags. Panic could be as dangerous as an actual threat. She keyed her shoulder mic. "Airport security, this is Officer Chen, K9 unit. I need a PA announcement for Gate C14, abandoned blue suitcase near the charging station. Owner, please identify themselves immediately." The announcement crackled through the overhead speakers 30 seconds later, cutting through the ambient terminal noise. Chen watched the crowd, watched for recognition, for movement, for someone suddenly remembering. Travelers glanced around with mild curiosity, then returned to their phones, their conversations, their hurried journeys. No one claimed the bag. Rocky's barking started low, a rumbling growl that built into sharp, insistent barks. Not his playful bark, not his "I found something interesting" bark. This was his alarm bark, the sound that meant danger, threat, explosive materials detected, the sound he'd been trained to make when he'd identified something that could kill. "Second announcement," Chen radioed, her voice steady despite her accelerating heartbeat. "Repeat for Gate C14. The PA system echoed her request again. Chen counted the seconds. 30, 45, 60, still no owner. Rocky's barking intensified, his entire body trembling with the effort of maintaining position instead of lunging forward. Foam flecked at the corners of his mouth. His eyes never left the suitcase. Every instinct Chen had cultivated over 8 years in law enforcement screamed the same message Rocky was broadcasting. This wasn't a forgotten bag. This was a threat. She keyed her radio again, switching to the secure channel. "Dispatch, this is Chen, K9 unit, Gate C14. I have a positive explosive alert on an abandoned suitcase. Repeat, positive explosive alert. Owner has not responded to 2 PA announcements, requesting supervisor and bomb squad protocol activation." The response was immediate. "Copy that, Chen. Supervisor en route. Stand by for further instructions. Do not approach the package." But Chen was already moving, her hand firm on Rocky's leash, pulling him back, creating distance. Her other hand raised in a subtle gesture that meant one thing to every officer in the terminal: potential threat, clear the area, move slowly, don't panic the civilians. The decision point had arrived. She could wait for her supervisor, follow protocol to the letter, maintain the status quo while precious minutes ticked away, or she could trust Rocky's nose, trust her gut, and act now. Chen made her choice. "Dispatch, I'm establishing a security perimeter. This is real." Chen moved with controlled urgency, positioning herself between the suitcase and the nearest cluster of travelers. She caught the eye of Officer Daniels across the concourse and used 2 fingers to gesture a wide circle. "Establish perimeter, no sudden movements." Daniels nodded once and began the delicate dance of crowd management, approaching a family with young children with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Folks, we're going to need you to move to Gate C12 for just a few minutes. Routine security check, nothing to worry about." His voice was steady, casual, the tone of someone asking you to step aside for a spilled coffee, not a potential bomb. Other officers materialized from their positions throughout the terminal, reading Chen's body language, understanding the silent communication that came from years of training together. They formed a human barrier, gently redirecting foot traffic, their movements choreographed to avoid panic. A stampede could kill as many people as an explosion. Chen's supervisor, Lieutenant Morrison, appeared at her side within 90 seconds, slightly out of breath. "Talk to me, Chen. Rocky's giving me his highest level alert. No owner after 2 announcements. Bag's been sitting there at least 15 minutes based on gate camera timestamps." She kept her voice low, professional. "I need to know what we're dealing with before bomb squad arrives." Morrison's jaw tightened. Protocol said wait, but protocol also said trust your canine's nose. They had a 98% accuracy rate. "Make it quick. I'll maintain the perimeter." Chen approached the suitcase with Rocky held firmly at her side, his barking reduced to a continuous low growl. Every step felt like walking through water, time stretching and compressing simultaneously. Her hands were steady, years of training, muscle memory, the disconnect between body and racing mind that came from operating in high-stress environments. She knelt beside the blue hardshell case, noting the lack of baggage tags, the pristine condition, the way it sat perfectly upright as if placed rather than dropped. Her fingers found the zipper. The metallic sound of it opening seemed impossibly loud in her ears. The world stopped. C4. She recognized it immediately from her military days, the tan-colored blocks of plastic explosive, moldable and stable until detonated. But this wasn't a single brick stolen from a construction site. This was professional. 4 blocks arranged in a precise configuration, each one marked with military stenciling. Wires ran between them in a pattern that spoke of expertise, of someone who knew exactly what they were doing. And mounted on top, secured with electrical tape, was a digital timer. 25 minutes, 24:59, 24:58. The red numbers counted down with mechanical precision, each second ticking away like a heartbeat. Chen's own heartbeat thundered in her ears. 25 minutes, that's all the time between this moment and catastrophe. The detonator system was sophisticated, multiple wires color-coded, a circuit board with components she recognized from military ordnance disposal briefings. This wasn't some amateur mixing fertilizer in a basement. This was professional-grade bomb-making, military precision, the work of someone with training and resources. Chen's hand was already moving to her radio before her conscious mind formed the words. Her voice, when it came, was steady despite the ice flooding her veins. "Dispatch, this is Chen, code black. I repeat, code black. We have a confirmed explosive device at Gate C14. Multiple blocks of C4 with active timer showing 24 minutes remaining. This is not a drill. Initiate full evacuation protocols and get me the bomb squad. Now." The radio crackled with Morrison's voice, sharp and commanding. "All units, code black confirmed. Begin terminal evacuation. Move with purpose, maintain calm. This is not a drill." Chen stared at the timer. 23 minutes and 40 seconds. The clock was running. The airport's Emergency Operations Center erupted into controlled chaos. Security Director Webb stood before a wall of monitors showing every angle of the terminal, his headset alive with cross-chatter from a dozen channels. He drilled for this scenario monthly for 15 years, prayed he'd never have to execute it for real. Today, that prayer went unanswered. All personnel, this is Director Webb. We are implementing Protocol 7, full terminal evacuation. I need every available body managing crowd flow. Keep your voices calm, your movements deliberate. We have approximately 2,000 people in this terminal and 23 minutes to get them out safely. His fingers flew across the control panel, triggering the pre-programmed evacuation sequence. Throughout the terminal, LED displays flickered and changed, gate assignments disappearing, replaced by a single message in multiple languages. Attention, mandatory security drill in progress. Please proceed calmly to the nearest exit. Follow officer instructions. The PA system crackled to life with a pre-recorded message, carefully crafted by psychologists and crisis management experts. The female voice was authoritative but not panicked, firm but not frightening. Ladies and gentlemen, we are conducting a mandatory security drill. Please gather your belongings and proceed to the nearest marked exit. This is a routine procedure. Follow the instructions of airport personnel. Do not run. Move at a steady pace. The word drill was deliberate. Tell people there's a bomb and you get a stampede. Tell them it's a drill and they grumble but comply. Officers positioned themselves at key choke points, escalators, doorways, the narrow passages where crowds could bottleneck and crush. Officer Ramirez stood at the top of the main escalator, hands raised, voice carrying across the concourse. Folks, we need you moving toward the exits now. Leave your gate areas, take your carry-ons, and follow the lit pathways. Nice and easy. A businessman in an expensive suit protested. I have a flight to Los Angeles in 20 minutes. Sir, you'll miss more than your flight if you don't move. Now, please. Ramirez's tone left no room for negotiation. The crowd began to flow, a slow human river channeling toward exits. Parents scooped up children. Elderly passengers clutched their rolling bags. The college students from earlier moved in a tight cluster, confusion written across their young faces. Back at Gate C14, Chen remained in position, crouched beside the open suitcase, Rocky pressed against her leg. The terminal around her was emptying, but she couldn't leave. Someone had to maintain eyes on the device, had to watch for any changes, any signs of tampering or secondary triggers. Morrison's voice crackled through her earpiece. Bomb Squad ETA 12 minutes, FBI counterterrorism unit right behind them. 12 minutes. The timer showed 20 minutes and 18 seconds. They'd arrive with 8 minutes to spare, if traffic cooperated, if nothing delayed them, if everything went perfectly. Chen had been in law enforcement long enough to know things rarely went perfectly. TSA has grounded all flights, nothing in or out until we clear this. FAA is establishing a no-fly zone over the terminal. Through the massive windows, Chen could see ground crew scrambling, planes being pushed back from gates, emergency vehicles positioning themselves at strategic points around the tarmac. The machine was in motion now, massive and coordinated, hundreds of people responding to the threat she'd discovered. The terminal was nearly empty now, just scattered security personnel and the last stragglers being guided toward exits. The normal chaos of thousands of voices, rolling luggage, gate announcements, all gone. The silence was eerie, broken only by Rocky's low growl and the quiet hum of the terminal's ventilation system. Chen looked at the timer. 1947, 1946, 1945. Somewhere out there, the bomb squad was racing through traffic, sirens screaming. Somewhere in this terminal, or long gone, the person who planted this device was either watching or celebrating. And here, in this pocket of terrible quiet, Chen waited with a bomb that could bring down half the terminal. Rocky pressed closer against her leg, sensing her tension. She dropped one hand to his head, fingers scratching behind his ears. "Good boy. You did good, Rocky. You saved them all." The timer kept counting down. The rumble of heavy wheels echoed through the empty terminal as Captain Martinez and his bomb disposal team rushed through the evacuated corridor. Chen stood at the security perimeter, one hand still resting on Rocky's vest, watching the specialists arrive in their tactical gear. Martinez moved with the deliberate precision of someone who'd stared down death more times than he cared to count. Behind him, two technicians maneuvered the bomb disposal robot, a squat mechanical creature bristling with cameras and articulated arms. "Officer Chen?" Martinez's voice was calm, almost casual, as if they were discussing lunch plans rather than high explosives. "Talk to me about your K9's alert." Chen kept her voice steady. "Rocky's trained for explosives detection, former military working dog, 2 tours overseas. He's never given a false positive. When he locked onto that suitcase, I've never seen him react that intensely, not in 3 years of partnership." Martinez nodded, his eyes already on the blue suitcase sitting alone near Gate C14. "And you opened it?" "Confirmed visual on C4, multiple blocks, digital timer, professional setup." Chen glanced at the nearest monitor displaying the countdown. 14 minutes, 40 seconds. "Captain, whoever built this knew what they were doing." "Copy that," Martinez signaled to his team. The robot whirred forward, its cameras transmitting live feed to the monitors they'd set up at the command post. Through the high-definition lenses, everyone could see what Chen had discovered: neat bundles of plastic explosive arranged with military precision, wires color-coded and labeled, the timer mounted prominently on top like a cruel taunt. Martinez leaned closer to the screen, his jaw tightening. Jesus, that's C4, military-grade detonators, and he traced a wire with his finger on the monitor. Anti-tamper switches. This isn't some amateur with an internet tutorial. This is professional work. The bomb squad's technical specialist Rodriguez whistled low. "Sir, we could attempt controlled detonation, move it to the blast containment chamber." "How long to transport?" 8 minutes minimum, maybe 10 with safety protocols." Martinez shook his head, pointing at the structural map on his tablet. "Terminal support columns are 20 feet from that device. The blast radius would bring down half this concourse, even without the C4. We'd be looking at catastrophic structural failure." He straightened up, his decision made. "We defuse on site." A heavy silence settled over the team. Everyone understood what that meant. Higher risk, no margin for error. One wrong wire, one miscalculation, and Martinez wouldn't have time to know he'd failed. "Rodriguez, prep the suit. Officer Chen, you and Rocky need to fall back to secondary perimeter, minimum 200 yards. Chen wanted to protest, to stay, but she knew better. She gave Rocky's vest a gentle tug. The dog reluctantly backed away with her, his eyes never leaving the suitcase. Martinez began pulling on the bomb suit, 80 pounds of Kevlar and ceramic plates that might, if he was lucky, protect him from the blast. Might. As the helmet locked into place, he checked the timer one last time. 13 minutes remained. Martinez's breathing echoed inside the bomb suit helmet as he crossed the empty terminal floor. Each step was measured, deliberate. The suit's weight pressed down on his shoulders, but he'd worn it enough times that the burden felt familiar, almost comforting. Almost. He knelt beside the blue suitcase, his gloved hands steady despite what the monitors were showing. Up close, the device was even more intimidating than it had appeared on screen. The C4 blocks were arranged in a specific pattern, maximizing fragmentation, he realized. Whoever built this wanted maximum casualties. "Deploying fiber optic," Martinez said into his helmet mic. He carefully inserted the hair-thin camera through a gap in the suitcase's lining, threading it deeper into the device's internal structure. The feed transmitted back to the command post, where Rodriguez and the others watched in tense silence. What the camera revealed made Martinez's stomach drop. "We've got redundant trigger systems," he reported, his voice tight. "Primary circuit connects to the timer, but there's a backup. Looks like a pressure switch beneath the main charge, and—" he angled the camera slightly. "Damn! Mercury tilt switches on at least 3 of the wire bundles. This thing is designed to detonate if we move it, cut the wrong wire, or even breathe on it wrong." Rodriguez's voice crackled through the earpiece. "Captain, that's military-level sophistication, EOD training, maybe demolition specialist." "Yeah, I'm seeing that." Martinez withdrew the fiber optic and studied the visible wiring. Each wire was color-coded, but he knew better than to trust conventional color schemes. This bomber was too smart for that. Blue might be ground, or blue might be the trigger. Red could be power, or red could be a decoy that would blow him into pieces the moment he cut it. His hands hovered over the wire cutters. "Command, this is going to be close, real close." At the secondary perimeter, Chen stood with Rocky pressed against her leg. The dog's body was rigid, his ears forward, every instinct telling him that danger still lurked ahead. Chen's hand rested on his head, fingers buried in his fur, drawing comfort from his presence. Around them, the FBI's mobile command unit had set up operations, agents hunched over laptops reviewing security footage at high speed. "Got something?" an agent called out. "2 individuals, both male, placing the suitcase at Gate C14 approximately 90 minutes ago." The footage played on the main screen, grainy but clear enough. 2 men in casual clothing working with practiced efficiency. They set down the suitcase, walked away without looking back. "Running facial recognition now," another agent said. Chen barely heard them. Her eyes were locked on Martinez's distant figure, hunched over the device. She could see him making minute adjustments, his movements slow and precise. Every second felt like an hour. Rocky whined softly, sensing her tension. "I know, boy, I know." The timer on the monitor ticked down. 10 minutes, 30 seconds, then 10 minutes even. Martinez picked up his wire cutters and leaned in close. Martinez traced the primary detonation circuit with his eyes, following the red wire from the timer through a maze of connections to the main charge. His multimeter confirmed what he suspected. Live current, 12 volts, steady pulse. This was it, the wire that mattered. "Primary circuit identified," he said into the mic. "Red wire from timer to detonator. I'm reading consistent voltage. This should be the power source." "Should be?" Rodriguez's voice carried an edge of concern. "Nothing certain with this one." Martinez positioned the wire cutters, the blades barely touching the insulation. He took a slow breath, steadied his hands, and squeezed. The wire separated with a soft snip. The timer continued counting. 8 minutes, 15 seconds. "First circuit disabled," Martinez reported, allowing himself 1 second of relief before refocusing. But as he pulled back the severed wire, something else caught his attention, a secondary circuit board tucked beneath the main timer, previously hidden from view. His heart sank. "We've got a failsafe. Secondary system just activated." On the small LED screen of the hidden board, a pressure reading glowed, 2.4 kilograms. Martinez understood immediately. The entire device was sitting on a pressure sensor. If the weight changed by even a fraction, if he lifted the timer assembly or shifted the C4 blocks, the backup detonator would trigger instantly. "Command, I need to disable the power source, but the moment I cut it, the pressure sensor loses calibration. It'll register a system failure and detonate." He used the multimeter to trace the new circuit. I have to maintain exact pressure while cutting the next wire. No room for error. Sweat rolled down his temples despite the terminal's air conditioning. Inside the bomb suit, the temperature was climbing, his breathing growing heavier. His hands were steady, but he could feel the weight of every second pressing down on him. "Talk me through it, Captain," Rodriguez said calmly. "Battery pack is mounted under the pressure plate. I need to slide my left hand beneath the device, locate the disconnect, and pull it while simultaneously cutting the backup circuit wire." Martinez positioned himself carefully. "If I shift the weight wrong, even by a few grams, it's over." He slid his hand underneath the suitcase, feeling blindly for the battery compartment. His fingers found the edge, traced the outline, located the connector. "Got it. On my count. 3, 2... "Captain," Rodriguez's voice cracked through. "Command is ordering full evacuation. Chen, you need to move back now, 200 yards minimum." Chen grabbed Rocky's vest and ran, her boots pounding against the polished floor. Behind her, Martinez remained frozen in position, one hand under the bomb, the other holding wire cutters. The timer showed 5 minutes, 40 seconds. 1, Martinez whispered, and moved. The battery connector came free in Martinez's hand just as he cut the backup wire. For 3 agonizing seconds, nothing happened. Then the secondary LED blinked once and went dark. The pressure sensor deactivated. But the main timer kept counting. 3 minutes, 12 seconds. "Secondary system down," Martinez reported, his voice strained. "But primary timer is still active. It's running on internal power." He stared at the device, his mind racing through possibilities. The timer was hardwired directly into the detonator now, isolated from the circuits he'd just disabled. One final barrier between hundreds of lives and catastrophe. 2 minutes, 45 seconds. Martinez studied the remaining wires with trembling precision. His hands were shaking now, not from fear, but from the physical strain of maintaining perfect stillness for so long. 2 wires remained connected to the timer's base. 1 blue, 1 red. Both disappeared into the detonator housing. "Command, I've got 2 wires left, blue and red. I need to choose." The silence on the radio was deafening. "Captain," Rodriguez finally said, "we can't see enough detail on the feed to advise. This one's on you." Martinez traced the circuit paths with his eyes, following each wire's trajectory. The blue wire ran along the outer edge of the housing, typically ground in most conventional setups, but this bomber had already subverted every convention. The red wire cut straight through the center, the most direct path to the detonator. 2 minutes, flat. Standard protocol said cut the ground wire first, but standard protocol was exactly what this bomber would expect. Martinez thought back through every device he'd encountered, every near miss, every successful defusal. This bomber was military-trained, sophisticated, meticulous, someone who would anticipate standard responses, which meant the standard choice was the trap. 1 minute, 30 seconds. "I'm going red," Martinez said, positioning the wire cutters. "Captain," Rodriguez started. "Trust me." Martinez squeezed the handles, the red wire separated cleanly. The timer continued counting. 1 minute, 15 seconds. Sweat poured down Martinez's face. He'd made the wrong choice, or the right choice, but there was still another layer. His eyes desperately scanned the device, searching for what he'd missed. Then he saw it, a tiny panel on the timer's side, barely visible. Manual battery compartment. "Emergency override." Martinez jammed his fingers into the panel, feeling for the battery. His gloves were too thick. He tore one off, ignoring protocol, and reached in again. 50 seconds. His fingers found the battery edge. He pulled. 47 seconds. The battery slid free. The timer's display flickered once, twice, and went black. Complete silence. At the command post, Chen felt her knees weaken. Rocky barked once, sharp, final. Around them, FBI agents slowly exhaled. Rodriguez slumped in his chair. Martinez sat back on his heels, the dead battery in his bare hand, and let out a breath he'd been holding for what felt like a lifetime. "Device neutralized," he said quietly. "We're clear." While Martinez and his team carefully documented the neutralized device, the FBI's digital forensics unit worked at fever pitch. Agent Reeves replayed the security footage for the 10th time, watching the two men place the blue suitcase at Gate C14. They moved with practiced efficiency, no hesitation, no nervousness, no backward glances. Professional, disciplined, dangerous. "Run it through facial recognition again," Reeves ordered. "Cross-reference with all federal watch lists." Within minutes, the system pinged. 2 matches, Daniel Kovac, 42, and James Wheeler, 37, both flagged on the domestic extremist watch list, both with military backgrounds, Army EOD, dishonorably discharged. The profiles painted a disturbing picture: anti-government manifestos posted online, connections to militant groups, previous investigations that hadn't yielded enough evidence for arrest. Until now. "Get me cell phone data," Reeves snapped. "I want their locations 5 minutes ago." The triangulation came back fast. Kovac's phone pinged from a motel 15 miles south of the airport. Wheeler's signal originated from an apartment complex downtown, both stationary, both still in the area, likely waiting to hear news of the explosion that would never come. "Coordinate with local SWAT. Simultaneous breach. I want them alive." The arrests happened within minutes of each other. Kovac was taken without incident, found in his motel room surrounded by burner phones and a police scanner. Wheeler barricaded himself briefly, but surrendered when flashbangs shattered his windows. The searches that followed yielded a treasure trove of evidence: bomb-making materials, handwritten notes detailing the airport's layout, manifestos declaring war on federal authority, and encrypted communications revealing a network of like-minded extremists. The plan had been simple and devastating: maximum casualties during peak travel hours, national news coverage, widespread panic, an attack designed not just to kill, but to shatter public confidence in the security systems meant to protect them. The federal trial was swift and decisive. Both men received multiple life sentences without possibility of parole. Terrorism, attempted murder, illegal possession of explosives, conspiracy to commit mass murder. The judge's final words were unequivocal: "You sought to terrorize innocent people. Instead, you will spend the rest of your lives in a cell, forgotten." 3 months later, Chen stood in the police department's ceremonial hall as the chief pinned a commendation medal to Rocky's vest. The Belgian Malinois sat perfectly still, his dark eyes scanning the crowd with that characteristic vigilance that never quite switched off. Chen received her own recognition, a department citation for decisive action under pressure. Now, walking through Gate C14 on a busy Tuesday afternoon, Chen watched families reunite, business people rush to catch flights, children press their faces against windows to watch planes taxi. The terminal hummed with ordinary chaos again, as if that terrible day had never happened. She rested her hand on Rocky. "Every day we walk these halls so people can travel safely," she said quietly. "Today reminded me why this work matters. We're not just checking bags, we're protecting lives. And because of your training, your instincts, your dedication, hundreds of people went home to their families. That's not just a job, that's purpose." Rocky glanced up at her, then returned his attention forward. Ever vigilant, always ready.